Hello and welcome to the project closeout video for project 1100251, Rust SDK for the CardanoBI API. So we'll start with a brief project overview before jumping on to deliverables and achievements. We'll have a more interactive demonstration afterwards, and then we'll conclude with the key learnings and next steps. So this is the Fun 11 initiative, part of the Cardano Open Developers Challenge. Our budget was short of 20,000 ADA, and our solution was to build a fully open source Rust SDK for Rust developers to integrate with the CardanoBI API. The benefit for Rust developers is that they can now directly augment their application's code base with a streamlined access to Cardano's on-chain data without having to get outside of their technology stack. This allows them to build on Cardano in a more efficient and consistent manner, promoting shorter time to market and greater software quality. So our deliverables were threefold. First, a fully open source Rust SDK for the CardanoBI API. Second, a state-of-the-art API documentation. And third, a tutorial describing how to use the SDK. Well, we achieved all three deliverables. We delivered first the Rust SDK for the CardanoBI API alongside an updated API documentation, which is now inclusive of Rust code samples for each of our 80 plus CardanoBI API endpoints. We released a tutorial introducing Rust developers to the Rust SDK and accelerate their onboarding to CardanoBI's ecosystem as a whole. Lastly, collaboration-wise, we are now looking forward to Rust developers embracing this new Rust SDK, providing feedback and raising change requests to meet potential new requirements. So let's now move on to our more interactive demonstration. There will be three parts to it. First, we'll go over our GitHub repo. Then we'll move on to our API documentation. And last but not least, we'll look at our tutorial. So let me switch screens and jump onto the CardanoBI portal. Let me zoom in a bit. It's got all the links we need. Top right corner, we've got our GitHub repo link. And if we look into our repositories lists and search for the CardanoBI Rust repo, here it is. This is the home of our CardanoBI Rust SDK. It's got obviously the source code, all the test results. Now, let's move back to the CardanoBI portal and open our documentation. So if we look at the core domain, for instance, and the accounts, on this endpoint, we can see now that there's a Rust code sample. And this is true across our 80 plus CardanoBI endpoints, obviously. Last but not least, let's look at our tutorial. So the Rust SDK tutorial is here, and we will now move on to actually testing that tutorial ourselves. So in the interest of time, I will not go over each of these steps. I have already acquired CardanoBI credentials following instructions in step 1. I have already cloned the CardanoBI Rust SDK, and I have already set up my Rust project. However, I will go with you through the step number 6, which is about creating a small Rust program to test the actual Rust SDK. So let's split our screen. On the left-hand side, our tutorial, and on the right-hand side, a bash window. I will open VS Code like so, and I will stick it to the right-hand side. Now we will follow the tutorial and create a new file under the source directory, and we'll call that main.rs. We'll take the code from the tutorial itself, and I will replace those dummy CardanoBI credentials, namely the API key and the API secret, with real ones I've created earlier. There you go. And now, using a new terminal window, I will attempt to run that script. And there you have it. This is the latest block from mainnet as of recording using the CardanoBI Rust SDK. So let's talk about key learnings. Given the relative simplicity of this project, the learnings were more focused around task automation. We made sure that our future SDKs could be implemented faster with a higher degree of certainty and code quality. So what is next for CardanoBI? Well, we have already identified 3 SDKs highly in demand amongst our community, namely the Java SDK, the Golang SDK, and the .NET SDK. Then we will want to further develop our partners' domains, which is a business data distribution layer offering shared revenues for projects building and running on Cardano. And then last but not least, leveraging CardanoBI's infrastructure and open source approach, we want to implement Wally, our all-in-one wallet tracker. From the CardanoBI team, thank you for watching this project closeout video, and see you in the next one.